We've got breaking news that's coming in. The Supreme Court has directed the builders of the Maradu flats in Kerala to deposit 20 crore rupees within a month. It has also directed all flat owners to be given 25 lakh rupees. The Apex Court reiterated that it is not going to go back on its earlier order of demolishing the apartment complex because this particular complex does not comply with the coastal regulatory zone rules, and that is really why the Supreme Court gave this ruling of the complex being demolished in the first place. Meenakshi joining us on the phone line. Meenakshi, clearly top court is not going to go back on its decision of demolishing the complex, but it is ensuring that the flat owners, the people who own these apartments in the building are not, don't find it difficult and don't fall on the wrong side.
Well, that's right, Avni. This is a case which has turned into a political hot potato, and this is a confederation of real estate developers who were trying to impress upon the Supreme Court to allow the buildings to be put to some permissible usage, which is when the Supreme Court turned down this plea also to reconsider this demolition, saying that, like you rightly mentioned, there is absolutely no going back on the earlier orders passed by the top court. The Supreme Court is of the opinion that there are so many people who are dying in floods and other natural calamities, and who is responsible? The builders or the authorities who let this happen? And the Supreme Court feels that this is the only manner in which responsibility can be affixed. That was the observation of Honorable Justice Arun Mishra, basis which he rejected another bid to alter or modify the earlier orders. And that apart, like you rightly mentioned, the Supreme Court reiterating as to how this monetary compensation of 25 lakhs needs to be made available to these residents. And the Supreme Court has directed for the builders to deposit a cumulative amount of rupees 20 crores within a month's time.
That's right. And Meenakshi, if you can also take us through what are the other important points, that has been mentioned with regard to the builders who obviously flouted rules brazenly, and with regards to the people who are actually suffering for something that the builder did.
Well, yes, indeed, Ami. These are the operative portions that we are getting for our viewers. But, we have had hearings, at least 3 very high voltage hearings pertaining to the Maradu flats demolition case in the Supreme Court in the past. And in the past as well, the Supreme Court said as to how these things are happening so randomly, and these constructions are allowed to come up in areas which are ecologically sensitive zones, and who permitted for these structures to come up in the first place. And today also, Avni, like we just showcased to our viewers, the Supreme Court is frowning upon authorities who allowed such constructions to crop up in the first place. And the main intention of the court is to affix responsibility. And therefore, today again, the top court reiterating that there is absolutely no scope for going back on its earlier orders which permitted this demolition.
All right, Meenakshi, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. That's as far as Maradu flat builders are concerned, and the Supreme Court, they're directing them to deposit 20 crore rupees.